Hello! Welcome back to Chaos in the Margins, or welcome if you have never been before. My name's Shalana Battles, and I am here today to talk about all things romance. I say on my website, from the everyday to the otherworldly, it is always a love story. And it is always a love story over here. It doesn't matter if I'm writing paranormal or contemporary or fantasy or dark romance. You can put money on there's romance. So today is Wednesday, February 19th as I'm recording this, and we have a interesting and important topic today, which is why I made the decision to unpublish pretty much all of my backlist, and in the near future it will be all of my backlist, and take those books for the time being off of the internet. Today we are going to talk about why I chose to unpublish my backlist, what's next for those books, what that means for you as a reader, my decision process behind this, and what my future plans are. So let's jump into it. If you're new here, really quick, I am a romance author. I do write across multiple genres. So I write in the paranormal, the fantasy, I'm working on a dark romance series, and I have contemporary books out, and the Grand Mesa Men series, which I'm working on now, is contemporary romance. And that's my main focus, and it's getting closer and closer and closer to being published. The Kickstarter launches on March 28th, and I am thrilled for that. I am so excited for these books to be done, to see them with their pretty covers, and to share them with you, because it's been a long time coming. If you have been here for a while, you know it's been a long time coming. So it's really exciting as they get closer. Kickstarter prep, looking at updates over here, working with the proofreader to get those final touches done. She got The Space We Leave for the second time last night. I sent that to her. I'm finishing going through Kaisen's book today, The Lines We Draw. And so her and I are doing the back and forth thing right now, finishing up final details in the proofreading and editing process. And so that's exciting. And also, if I'm being honest, I've spent a long time thinking about what's next. And I've started talking about that pretty regularly on here and on my other social media platforms. And it's something I've thought about for years. I've been doing this for 5 years now. But I feel like the last few months, especially like the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, it's been on my brain constantly. Like, I've talked to my two best friends about it. Shout out to Stephanie and Alexis, who listen to me talk about indie publishing probably way more than they want to, and help me kind of focus my direction. My husband, I talk his ear off about all of this stuff and what I should do, and so it's been a big topic of discussion and thought lately in terms of what am I doing with my business, what's next, what's my brand, all of these things. And so we're talking a little bit about that today. Obviously, I'm still working with clients as a freelance editor. I just booked another job that I'm really excited about, so that'll start soon. I'm waiting to schedule it until my books are with the proofreader and until I finish another client job that I have. And so I'm trying to be better about that as well, scheduling things out in a way that like doesn't overwhelm me. So that's really good, and I'm glad I'm able to keep helping authors do this, because that's really fun for me. I enjoy editing. I enjoy talking to people about their own plot and their character development and helping them navigate that. It's a lot of fun. My husband and I are still running our family business. Just a couple of like little updates in case anybody's curious. So our waste removal business is still in full swing. We are doing great there, and so that's great. I still work as a development person. So yeah, writing grants and putting out newsletters, and I'm writing. That's my other job, but it's just in a different capacity. And so let's jump into today and talk about today and talk about the backlist and talk about branding and see where we end up. So, as I said, I have mostly unpublished my backlist. If you've been following me since the beginning, or at least for a while, you know that I've released 3 books already: Soul Jumper, The Man Before You, and Encampment. I love these books. I love these characters. I love these stories. And so I'm not getting rid of them forever. They're always going to be a part of my books and my brand and all of that. So they're not disappearing. They're just evolving. They're changing. I knew I needed to take a step back and make some changes. And I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here because I think it's important. Especially for other people just starting out, is I made this decision largely because I want to be more intentional with my brand and with my business. And one of the biggest mistakes I made in starting this journey almost 5 years ago is I wrote a book, I published a book. But that's not it. You have to market your book. You have to have a marketing plan, and you have to have some sort of vision for what that book's going to look like once it's out into the world. And I feel like on the one hand, you're like, well, duh, that's a no-brainer, right? But it's so much harder than just thinking, I'm going to market my book. It's so much harder to get that visibility and that exposure, and how do you do it, and what social media platforms do you focus on, and do you do ads? And I can make a whole separate video just on the horrors of marketing. But I feel like newer indies, me especially, make that mistake a lot. We write the book, we publish it, and we're like, yay, it's done, it's out there. But that's such a small part of the whole picture. Writing the book is huge. Accomplishing, finishing the book is huge. I'm not taking away from that at all. Publishing is amazing and it's incredible, and that's a huge accomplishment. But your book, people have to know. People have to know that it exists, and people have to have a reason to read it and a reason to buy it. And so that's a whole separate part of this that is very hard. And so that's largely why I decided to make this move, to take these books off the other platforms and really start being intentional with what is my marketing plan, what is my goal for my business, what am I doing to make those things happen. I have been figuring out, and I'm still figuring out for a long time, what my brand is. I'm still not 100% sure I know what it is, if I'm being completely transparent here. And it's hard, I think, and this is why a lot of authors will tell you to pick a lane, because it's so much easier. Not that it's not still hard, it's still very much hard, but it's easier to have a brand and to market a product when it's in a singular lane. When you are writing Sarah Sutton, swoon-worthy romance, that's what she writes, that's what you expect from her. Melanie Harlow, she's writing small town romances. A lot of times they're single parents. Like I think it's like her catchphrase is like sweet and sexy or something along those lines. But you know what you're getting, right? You go to Runex's page, you know what's there. It's a dark romance, has these like darker themes. You know, they're in a lane. They know who their audience is. They know who's going to read their books. I think it's a lot harder, not impossible, because I've seen people do it. Rebecca Yarros is one of them, to write across genres. But especially when you're new, when people have no clue who you are, that's a difficult thing to do. So that was a huge question in my mind, is like, what is my brand? Do I need to pick a lane? What am I doing? You know, and ultimately I decided I want to write the stories that I feel like I need to be writing. For me, Soul Jumper is a paranormal romance. Future ideas I have are paranormal romances. That's something that's very near and dear to my heart, and something I don't think I will stop writing. Fantasy, still for me, my fantasy in Encampment leans more paranormal. It doesn't have this like insane world building that you expect from fantasy. I'm not really, there's the location, you know what I mean? But it's very different than when you're going into what you picture as fantasy and this very immersive world building. Encampment's more about the witches. It's more about the magic. I personally think that leans more paranormal. So okay, brand it as paranormal and put it in the same box as Soul Jumper when those books are being marketed. Then I have The Man Before You and the Grand Mesa Men series, which falls under contemporary. I don't see myself writing very many contemporary novels after the Grand Mesa Men series. This is something else that I've had to kind of come to terms with, and what am I doing? Because The Man Before You, I love that book. I love those characters. That was a story I needed to tell at that point in my life. And the Grand Mesa Men series, I needed to finish that. I needed those characters to come to life and live their stories. But now that that's coming to an end, I don't see myself continuing in the contemporary romance genre. One, I read very little contemporary romance. I do read it, but it's rare. I don't read a lot of contemporary romance. The last contemporary romance I remember reading is Abby Jimenez, and that was a good while ago when I was reading Yours Truly and Part of Your World and the Happily Ever After playlist. I adore those books. I love them. But contemporary romance is not something I pick up very often, and it's usually only something I pick up if I'm reading it with Alexis or Stephanie. I read dark romance. I read paranormal romance. I read books that explore darker themes, darker characters, and it makes me think a lot of J.F. Penn's like Let Your Dark Horse Run in Writing the Shadow, a book that she came out with. And I think for a long time I've been suppressing that, and that's the direction I think I need to go. And those are the stories that are really tugging at me and saying, write this. The Grand Mesa Men series and The Man Before You are books that I needed to write at that point in my life, and I'm glad I wrote them. But as far as big picture, as far as brand and the future of my small business, I see myself leaning heavily into the dark romance, the paranormal romance. And I'm not gonna sit here and say I'll never write a contemporary romance, because I don't know that that's true. I may write another one. But for now, I kind of see the Grand Mesa Men series as like me closing that chapter for the time being. Because the next things up that I have planned is the Ashen Heart series, which is a dark romance. Right now, it's about seven books that I have planned out in that series. And following that, I have another dark paranormal romance that I've also been working on. And I'm calling it the Blood series right now, but that could change. I needed something to save it as in my computer. And that alone is a 3, maybe 4 book thing that I've outlined out already. And I'm not an outliner. I am very much a discovery writer. And so the fact that these stories are tugging at me hard enough to make me outline, that says something, okay? And so I see myself going that direction. And so thinking about that and thinking about my brand and the Grand Mesa Men series, what I'll do with it in the future, I don't know. It will probably be on KU. Or maybe I'll use it, you know, as free books if people sign up for my newsletter, or different types of things. They won't go away, but I don't see them as like I don't see myself having this big backlist of contemporary romance. Another reason for choosing to take off the backlist is revisions and updates. The Man Before You is going through that right now because of the Grand Mesa Men series coming out. And so it's getting, you know, a few little changes, mostly to make it fit with the series. I changed Brike's name in that book to Brooks, and I changed his age, and just like little things like that so that they all flow together and it makes sense and the timeline's correct. So I'm excited about that. Soul Jumper, its 5th anniversary is October of this year, and I'm so excited for that. And I'm definitely going to publish a 5th anniversary edition. And if you read Soul Jumper, when Soul Jumper came out, like during its release months, it did really well. And I had a lot of people ask me about Logan's story. So if you've read that, there's a character in there named Logan. I won't spoil it for you, but most people that have read Soul Jumper want to know more about Logan and his story and what happened to him. So in the 5th anniversary edition, there will be a Logan story, like a bonus scene or a little novella. And so that'll be October of this year. Soul Jumper goes along with the brand of, you know, darker paranormal themes. And so that's great. I'm so excited about that. Encampment is in KU right now. I didn't pull it. I pulled The Man Before You and I pulled Soul Jumper because those are coming out, coming out this year. I did not pull Encampment because I figured if people want to read it on KU from now till next year is Encampment's 5th anniversary in August. And so I'll pull it closer to next year, closer to August, when we do its 5th anniversary edition. But for now, if you want to read it, it's in KU if you have that. And so you can read it for free over there. I wouldn't buy the paperback unless you just want that cover, because next year it will be getting a updated cover and like some extra bonus scenes and things like that, just like with Soul Jumper. And then print quality, special editions, selling direct. That's another reason that I decided to pull my backlist and really think about my brand and what I want that to look like. I want to sell more directly. Doing this Kickstarter was really important to me to have like my books sold in this way before they go into Amazon. And so I think that will be what readers can expect from me in the future, is a launch on Kickstarter, maybe eventually a launch on my website, and then the books will go into KU or whatever I do with them. Right now, my plan is KU. So the Grand Mesa Men series will run on Kickstarter. Once all of the backers get their books, those books will go on to KU. The point of the Kickstarter is you get the books a lot earlier. You'll get these weeks, months earlier than people who wait to buy them on Amazon. And you also get the pretty books, which is the main thing, right? So you're gonna get the books with the foiling and the character art and all the prettiness. If you order a paperback off of Amazon, you're just getting a normal paperback. And so it kind of just depends like what you want your book to look like and how early you want to get it. But I'm moving more towards that. I've talked about JF Penn a million times. And Willow Winters is another like super good example of authors that put out these gorgeous, gorgeous books. And so in thinking about my brand, selling direct and putting out pretty books are two things really important to me, and I think I'll be moving more that direction. Quick recap, just in case you are looking out for these books. Soul Jumper will come out this year again in October for its 5th anniversary. If there's stuff aside from Logan's story that you want to see in Soul Jumper, please let me know in the comments, because I would love to include as much fun stuff for people who like that book. The Man Before You, that launches March 28th on Kickstarter. I'll put the link down below if you want to follow the Kickstarter for when it launches. But that's coming really soon, really quick. Encampment, like I said, it'll be back in 2026. You can read it right now on KU, but if you want to hold out for the pretty copy, That'll be in August of 2026. Before we sign off, I also wanted to say a couple of quick things just for indie authors who are just starting out or thinking about unpublishing their backlist that helped me kind of come to terms with rebranding and really thinking about how I'm intentionally presenting myself to readers. And it's something I'm still very much figuring out. But the number one thing is your first book doesn't have to be your forever book. And it's okay to make changes to your books. It's okay to pull them and do more edits and re-release them. It's okay to pull them and never re-release them. And so just being comfortable with the fact that you're gonna grow. You're gonna grow as a business owner. You're gonna grow as a writer. And it's okay to acknowledge that. And it's okay to say, hey, maybe this first thing I put out wasn't my best work. I'm gonna pull it and see what I can do with it. Or maybe I do nothing and I shelf it. And all of that's okay. It's okay to make changes. It's okay to have a book that you really, really loved, but a few years later, you've grown enough that you're like, okay, I can see how that book can be better. That doesn't make you a bad writer. That makes you a good writer. And I think that that's something that we can struggle with sometimes. It's not saying you're a bad writer. It's not saying your book is bad. It's just saying, hey, what can I do to make this more aligned with my brand, my business plans, and my writing as it evolves. The second thing is that publishing is only one step. One, write the book, publish the book. That's all fine and dandy, but marketing is forever. Unfortunately. Like, seriously. And it's indie and traditional. That's the other thing I wanted to point out. Authors that go the traditional route are still marketing their own books. Like, look at even people that do fantastic. Look at Alex Astor. She is killing it with her Light Lark series. And she also came out with another one, Something in the City. I think it's a contemporary romance. But the point is, she's still marketing her own books. She's still very frequently making videos about her own books. And so that's, I think, really important. Marketing is always, and marketing is going to involve you. And it's really no one's favorite part, but it has to be done, regardless of if you're indie or traditional. And just thinking about that, because it's easy to get caught up in, oh, I have to finish this book right now, and I have to publish this book right now. But be intentional with those things. I didn't. I wasn't. And now I'm going back and doing things that I could have just done the first time, had I thought through a business plan and had I thought through a marketing plan. And I'm not perfect by any means, and I'm still learning all of this. But if I could offer you one piece of advice, it's to think that through. Think past release day into, how am I marketing this book in the next year, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years? That's gonna matter. Having a plan going into it will save you from having to do what I'm doing, which is restructure, rebrand, and really think about, what is my plan? Have a plan from the beginning. And then also a big part of it is the quality of books. And I think indie authors and indie publishing has come such a long way. And you're getting indie authors now with these very, very pretty books. And have everything, the sprayed edges and the foiling. And I'm going to do a whole nother video at some point on the different printing options, because that was a whole research thing for the Grand Mesa Men series. And I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool that you can get an indie published book that is just as pretty as a traditionally published book, and it's come such a long way, and indie authors are really raising the bar, and I think that's really cool. J.F. Penn talks about that a lot too, and like bringing that human element, and I love that about indie publishing, that all of those personal decisions are yours. And it's really fun to be able to have so many more options than we had at the beginning. So that was another kind of reason for doing this. 5 years ago when I published Soul Jumper, I didn't have sprayed edges as a choice or foiling on the front cover as an option. And so also like taking your backlist and evolving and moving forward with the printing options that you have and how you want to share your books and present your books and your brand. I would love to hear from you if you've read my books and you have ideas for the special editions, if there are short stories that you would love to see. I am so excited for this whole rebranding process and what it looks like and what it means, but I'd love to hear from you. If you've read my books or plan to read my books and think it'd be really cool, like with Soul Jumper, to have Logan's story in there. Encampment, I have some ideas for that. Even the Grand Mesa Men series, like I said, probably moving away from contemporary romance, but there's a few stories left in there that I really do think will end up either as a short story in KU, or if I launch a Patreon, it'll be on there, maybe on my website, whatever, because I have Jesse, the dad of the brothers, I have an idea for him that I do think will get written. So things like that. If there's extras, bonus scenes that you would like to see, I'd love to hear it. So let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider hitting the like button, leaving a comment, subscribing to my channel. All of those things really, really help indie authors. Can't stress that enough. There's a ton of ways you can help us without ever buying our books. But interacting with our content is a big one. Okay, before we sign off, what am I reading right now? Because I love talking about this. It's something, like I said last time, that I wasn't normally talking about, but I've been excited about sharing it. So last week, Deviant Hearts and Vicious Hearts by Jagger Cole. I finished both of those books. Adored them. Adored them. I have the third book open, ready to start on my Kindle. It's a 6-book series. It's dark romance. It's arranged marriage. I love arranged marriage. Sign me up every time. The first book was Aries and Neve, which I loved. They were so good. It was like an arranged marriage to stop their families from feuding, crime families, and it was really good. And they were fantastic. The chemistry was great. Second book is Neve's uncle. The man is unhinged, okay? Literal psychopath. Check your trigger warnings on this one, because he's a nut. he's insane. But it's so good. It's so good. Yuna shows up at a sex club and basically seduces him into a private room and then stabs him in the chest with her hair clip. So, you know, trigger warnings. But it's fantastic. They're amazing together. Really, really loved that book a lot. And I'm excited to read the third one, which is Aries' brother, Hades. And so if you're looking for a dark romance, arranged marriage, that touch her and die energy, Jagger Cole, because these have been really fun. And even though they're dark romance, there's still like some sarcasm and some funny moments. And so they're really good. Let me know what you're reading in the comments. I always like book recommendations. I like to see what other people are reading. And I'm always looking for what I'm reading next. That is it for this episode of Chaos in the Margins. I was talking too long. I need coffee. If you have videos you want me to cover, things you want me to talk about, be it editing, writing stuff, whatever, books, characters, if you're trying to write and you have questions, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to answer either on the comment or in a video. And we will see you next time. Until then, keep writing, keep believing in yourself. All of the things that sound really cliche, but I think they're so very important. Be positive, believe in your writing, believe in what you're doing, and keep pushing forward. Because in the end, it's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be worth it when you get to where you wanna be. And I wish you all the best of luck. Have an amazing week, and I will see you next time.